Oh, hi everyone, this is NUSensei. Today I've got an oddly specific topic to talk about, and that is how to knock the arrow on the string. Specifically, the method which people call threading or weaving. To make this as obvious and explicit as possible, here's a string, here's the bow, here's the arrow. The weaving method for a right-handed shooter is when you go on the right side of the string and you push between the string and the bow. Therefore you get it through and then you knock it. That's really all I had to talk about. Now, this shouldn't be a big deal, but some people do make a fuss about this, especially in the comment section of certain videos from other channels, often those who don't normally practice archery or demonstrate archery. And it really shouldn't be a big deal. Again, some people think that it's an uncommon or rare method which only they do, when in reality, many traditional shooters, even modern shooters, will place the arrow between the riser and string. I do it with my Olympic bow. I do weave the arrow between and then put the clicker on. For trad bows, I do the same thing. I might even lift the bow up to get a better position to knock the arrow. For the most part, it works the same way, whether you're loading it from the weaving method or using a more conventional method, if you call it that. And by that I mean the other method where you lay the bow on its side and then you put the arrow on top and then you knock. Both methods achieve the same goal. The arrow is knocked on the string. So there's no right or wrong method, and there really shouldn't be discussion about this. But like I said, a few people express surprise, whether genuine surprise or a bit of a mock surprise, to show that, oh look, I've got a slightly more efficient method, why don't you use it? Again, this shouldn't really be an issue. The reason why I think some people make an issue about this is that certain archers or demonstrators or presenters may inadvertently make the loading a bit more slow, clumsy, or awkward than it needs to be. So if I'm presenting something, I'm talking about bows and archery, and I load the bow by putting the arrow like this, it does look a little clumsy, sure. But again, that's not really a fault of the technique or the style. It may just be the presenter just fumbling with the bow and arrow. And there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's potentially wrong with this method is that if you use this method on a crowded place, like a shooting line, then you might find that you smack people on the side, especially for a longer bow. But if you're shooting by yourself, when you're in the field, there's no one around, no one cares, so this works completely fine. But again, I prefer this method for no other reason than it feels more natural to me. Where things get a little pedantic is when people overanalyze the speed or efficiency of each method, whether one is faster than the other. And look, to put this simply, most people who shoot this style of archery aren't aiming for speed, they're not aiming for efficiency, they just want the arrow on the string so they can shoot. So whichever method they can do comfortably and naturally, that's the method they use. I've also seen this style used inappropriately or criticized inappropriately to justify the speed and efficiency of back quivers or using the right side of the bow. For example, Shadiversity has talked about in one of his videos that the back quiver is better because it's faster to do it this way. And we're seeing Lars Anderson do this whole sketch where he pulls an arrow out and then he sticks it on the bow and then he says that the finger's on the wrong side, so then he goes, oh, what do I do now? I have to go on this side of the bow. And people kind of fabricate the narrative that this is a very poor, inefficient method, and therefore either there are better methods or this is the wrong side of the bow. And I've talked about that in other videos. And even if we accept that loading it from the top like that is inherently bad or slow, the weave method resolves that. So you take your arrow, you stick it between here, and you knock it, and everything's on the right side. So there's no huge loss of efficiency. You're not shooting 5 arrows in 1 second, therefore you need the fastest possible speed. If you're shooting this style, you're taking your time. There's no pressure to do so. And yes, by the way, it can be used for broadheads. Some people say that you might cut the string or cut your hand. That's true, But if you're careful, and you really should be using broadheads, there's plenty of space in the bow. Again, some bows, like long bows, might have very small brace heights, but you should be able to get a pointy tip like this through this very large gap in the string without cutting anything. I mean, if you're rushing it, sure, you might jab yourself, but that's the same with anything. So pull arrow, slide through, and you're good to go. So I don't think there's any huge disadvantage in weaving the arrow. And like I said, I don't think it should be used as a reason to discredit an entire style of archery just because you don't know about this method. I also want to point out that just because I don't use it for speed shooting doesn't mean it can't be used for speed shooting. The technique used by the famous Hungarian archer Lajos Kosai demonstrates that this can be used for speed shooting. So to end this video, let's just do a quick contrast. I'll load from the top like this. We'll shoot a few arrows. And then we'll weave the rest. I don't think there's any huge difference. It comes down to whether it feels more natural for you. Nice. And just from the other side, we'll use the shelf method. So on top like this. So here we go. And on top. Again, if I make it look really awkward, I could, but we'll just shoot normally. Okay, not going for speed records, just knocking the arrow. As long as the arrow goes on, then it's achieved its purpose, right? So nothing wrong with that method. There might be some excess hand movements. I'm going from overhand to across the other side. But again, if you're shooting at a relaxed pace, there's no time pressure. I'm not trying to speed shoot. We'll thread the arrow through. Plenty of space to get through. Thread. Thread. And thread. And done. So, okay, there's nothing really special about each method. Both are roughly the same. Again, if you're trying to maximize or min-max your speed and efficiency, yeah, I guess you could make an argument about that, but most people shooting like this aren't worried about that. So that's my brief talk on weaving the arrow. It's actually a fairly common technique and not that special. So I guess we're in with the question, which method do you use? And do you find there's any huge difference, or you just do it because it's more natural? Anyway, this is NUSensei. Hope you found this interesting and helpful. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.